Amendment actually protects individuals' rights to suitable access to television broadcasts, which I didn't know was a First Amendment protection, but apparently it is, and so I guess that's how important TV is to us nowadays. And so, you know, the courts have said that the cities can regulate antennas and satellite dishes as long as it's reasonable and it has a clear health, safety, or aesthetic objective and doesn't unreasonably interfere with the individual's rights to TV, or in this case, of the Zuberow case, I apologize to Mr. Zuberow if I'm butchering his name, ham radio antennas. And so this was a case down in Palmdale where Mr. Zuberow had constructed a 55-foot tall ham radio antenna in his backyard. And sure enough, 68 of his neighbors complained about it. My sister used to live in Palmdale, so I guess it's imaginable because they got a lot of suburbs out there with a whole bunch of houses on a tiny lot of land. But I guess it got to everyone in the neighborhood, not only because of the fact that it was a sight for sore eyes, I guess, and it was a health danger. They feared that in a good wind gust or an earthquake, the thing could come down and take out a few of their houses. It was also affecting all of their own personal electronics. And so the city of Palmdale ordered Mr. Zuberow to take down the antenna because they had an ordinance that said any antenna over 30 foot is not allowed, essentially. And so the court looked at the ordinance and it first looked at whether it was a valid ordinance, and the court actually had a few issues that the ordinance was vague, first of all, because it said that the antenna, the active portion of the antenna, couldn't be more than 30 foot high. And the court didn't know what that meant, what the active portion of the antenna meant. And I quite frankly don't understand that either. But they said that that portion of it was vague. And they also had a couple other issues with the ordinance generally, but they still ruled in favor of the city, finding that the purpose of the ordinance was for the health and safety and well-being of the community. It didn't step on the FCC's toes in terms of regulation of radio control, because that was another issue that came up, is whether this should be a federal issue for the FCC as opposed to an issue with the city, and whether there was preemption there. And despite those things, the court found that it was actually in compliance with the state and federal laws. It was passed in order to protect the health and well-being of the community, and so they sided with the city and said that the antenna had to come down. And as I was researching this, I also kind of stumbled across something else which I found which was pretty interesting in terms of utilities, and that's wind power and what rights an individual has in terms of wind power. And I didn't realize, but each owner has a distinct right to construct and maintain mechanisms to control or to get wind power, and that can be sold or leased completely separate from your interest in the property. So I thought that was something interesting that I kind of came across in researching that case. And that's all for that. So if anyone has any questions on that case or any others I discussed, please let me know.